Hyperpop Hour. Hyperpop Hour.
That was Archive with DJ C-Dub, except it actually got canceled, so it was not. And this is Hyperpop Hour with DJ Styrofoam. And today we have a very special guest. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Tracey Breaks. Yeah, I make
Awesome.
music. I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna play some of it. So if you aren't familiar, you can hear it. But yeah, it's gonna be an interview today. So let's just get started.
Hell yeah.
With a question. So you went to Cal Arts and you graduated,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's something that a lot of like artists in your scene kind of haven't really done or experienced. Do you think that's like changed how you approach your art?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did go to Cal Arts for 4 years. I went in for experimental pop, and then halfway through I switched to the music technology program. And I went in with a lot of expectations about like what school for music would be, because I was already doing a lot of it by myself at home. Like by the time I got to school, I'd been producing for like 4 or 5 years, give or take. Just like making my own music and learning and getting better. And I was already into a lot of, my biggest influences that still inspire me today, and already trying to like figure shit out in that vein. And I wanted to go to school to see, because I was kind of going there under the assumption that I would be able to be put in touch with the like teachers or resources who would be able to like specifically help me with just getting better at what I do specifically. Getting better at like production and like arrangement and sound design, and also not just doing cool sounds, but also, how to, use them effectively, and how to like, I guess, I don't want to say package, but how to like, make something out of them.
Right.
And then I got there and realized that was not the case at all, actually. I was kind of isolated in terms of like what I did. There wasn't a lot of people doing what I was doing specifically there. And the people who were there doing the same kind of thing were kind of also off in their own lanes. So it was kind of just, I think the biggest thing for me was that I went there and I got time out of it. And also I had a decent scholarship, so I figured that like
Might as well
anyways.
Yeah.
And also it was in the middle of the pandemic too, so it's like, well, I'm just sitting at home, like I might as well keep being in school, like a good Christian little girl that I definitely am not. But yeah, no, I think time was probably my biggest resource there. Was just like I had time to figure myself out. I had time to kind of carve out my own lane and my own niche on the internet and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like for a lot of people, going to school for something like the arts is like a way to get connected with people.
Right, yeah.
And that's definitely true, but I feel like, honestly, a lot of where I am today is really just me doing all of the side shit that I was doing instead. Like, I mean, like, there are people that I am really thankful and grateful to have met there, and did inspire me in a lot of ways, for sure. But I think that ultimately the thing that I learned was that there's not really like a set path for anybody, and the people who make the best music, in my opinion, are just the people who are crazy enough to keep fucking doing it, and just kind of have an almost like blind ignorance to, the idea that they could never achieve what they want to achieve through it. I don't know. I feel like it's a long-winded answer, but
yeah, I get what you're saying though. Yeah. So let's talk about some of your collaborators for a second. one of your like more frequent collaborators is Violet Pony, who just dropped an album actually.
Yeah.
But I want to ask, like, what was the process like making specifically the song "Love and Pony Step"? I feel like that's such like a long and like detail-oriented song. Like, how
Right.
much did you do on that? Like, what did you do?
So I'm laughing only because I guess the gag with that is that I really only did like about a minute of it tops. I did like maybe the first drop was like an idea that I had because like she and I at the time that she had made that we had already made a couple things together, like we
Right.
made like Wub Anthem and
Right.
stuff like that. But she was working on Love and Pony Step and like the whole project and was like giving me updates on the process and like demos and stuff. And I remember like fucking what was it? Falling in love with the corporate illustration was like one of the most beautiful things I'd ever heard when she showed me the demo. She's one of the most incredible musicians I've ever met.
Like the versatility is crazy.
Oh, man,
yeah,
it drives me nuts. She's so good. Everybody needs to be a Violet Pony stan right now. But yeah, the album was kind of getting wrapped up, and she was working on this kind of one last thing, which was that song.
right.
And was like, hey, can you? I'm so sorry, this is so last minute, but can you like, do you want to like make some cool stuff and like do a quick like collab thing for this? And I was like, fucking yeah, of course, like sure. I made like I think like most of the core, like I guess the skeleton of the first drop. She cleaned it up and made it like smack a little bit harder, but there's like that dun 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 that beginning bit. That was just like a thing that I made. And like, so sort of some of the other phrases and things like but that sound specifically I know is one that like is kind of sits on its own. Everything else is kind of like layered and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a pretty clean process. I reckon I knocked that out in like an hour or two and just sent it over, and the rest was kind of history there.
That's awesome. And from what like I've heard from like when I was researching for this interview, I think a lot of people like found your music from that, which I think is really cool. Yeah, good crossover.
For sure.
The next question is a little similar, but you also produced a song for Bring Me the Horizon, right? Or like produced part of it?
I've actually worked on 2 for them.
2? Okay.
Yeah. I have worked on I worked on some of the production of Lost by Bring Me the Horizon. That I think I took a little bit, there was more of a backseat thing because that was the first thing I did for them. And then I did R.I.P. Duskcore remix, which is such a hokey name. Like I know what they're getting at. It's like supposed to be like nightcore, and it's like you could just call it that, I reckon, but
not their vibe, I guess.
Yeah. But they wanted it to be their vibe, and so it was like.
Did they reach out to you for that, or like how did that happen?
Yeah. I actually like Ollie just kind of like followed me on Instagram one day, and I was geeking obviously because I was a big Bring Me the Horizon fan as a kid, and shit like that. And then he hit me up and was just kind of like, we've got a song, would love to have you work on it. And it was Lost. And that was a whole process in and of itself, just because it was like really nerve-wracking. I was really worried about doing it right, and in retrospect, I think I did it the best that I could for the time.
Yeah, I listened to that song for the first time like for this, and I think it's good. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff in it that I reckon people probably think is mine, but isn't. Like a lot of like the vocal chop thing at the very beginning was not mine. That was, I think, just a chopped up like pedal supply splice sample pack loop, like moment pack thing. And I did some like just kind of bespoke like filler sounds for like different pieces of it, so nothing like super crazy. There's a bass I think in the verse that's mine. But yeah, It wasn't like it really was just kind of pretty simple. And every time I've worked with them on things, it's kind of just been like that, where like I get a DM every now and again from Ollie being like, we got like a new thing, and it's like, cool, I'll check it out. Yeah, it's pretty signed, sealed, delivered, I suppose.
Okay, that's cool. And then last question that's like this. I wanted to get them all out of the way at the front, but you mixed the Subi Club album that just came out, right? I really like that album. What was like, how did that come about also? Like, what was the process with that? Like, how involved were you with making it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like, first of all, I mean, like, Subi Club is, at least to me, like, I remember especially when I first met him, I was definitely pretty starstruck, because I was like, you know, I met him like I want to say like 2 years ago at most.
So after Laced Up came out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this was around the time, like, this was a little bit, I think, after the music video came out, maybe, or maybe it wasn't. It was a summer, Jedwell was in town, and I got a text from him being like, we're hanging out. And so I came through and we all hung out, and I've hung out with Jedwell and Soren both, you know, a handful of times since then, but and I love them both to death. They're both like some of the sweetest people in the entire world, genuinely. And they're both so wickedly talented, my God. But yeah, no, working with Subi was really sick. I was in the middle of for the last like couple months, I've been in the middle of working on a different record that will come out sooner rather than later. It's not mine, but it is a friend of mine. Oops, sorry.
You're good.
It is the record of a friend of mine, and I'm really excited for that to happen. Shameless plug, but
well,
yeah.
It's not a plug if you don't.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's fair. Nice little loophole there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I woke up one day and he texted me and was just kind of like, hey, like, there's this record that like we have a pretty tight turnaround window on, and I would love to like get your help like mixing it, which like it was one of those texts, and this happens every so often where I wake up to a text message where I'm just like, holy shit, that's like a lot of information at once.
Yeah.
Not only is Subi Club asking me to help him with something, but there's a whole fucking record. The guy who famously puts out one song every 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And I was like, yeah, fucking, of course. And yeah, we got the whole thing. Like, I mixed like 6 of the songs. It's a 12-song record, so like half of it. And we got the whole thing knocked out relatively quickly. It was maybe like a month at most, where you know, I would literally just go over to his house, and we would just like stay up all night and like mix a song, goof around, keep mixing, goof around some more, and then keep mixing, and then be like, okay, see you in 3 days. We'll do this song then. And it kind of just, you know, the whole process was a lot of fun. He's really, like, he and I are 2 of the worst people to have in a studio together, because we'll just like riff on a bit for like 10 fucking minutes. And by the end of it, we have like lore and like a whole world created for like a shitty archetype of a dude. Like, and we're just like referencing it to each other. We get insufferable, truly, but it's a really fun vibe for sure. And also the record is so fucking sick. Like, I mean, that wasn't me, obviously. That was all him.
Well, the mixing is great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh, the mixing.
Ooh, the mixing. But yeah, it was fun, and I'm really glad that people like it. He definitely deserves his flowers on that one, for sure.
For sure. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna play "Dust Rigs" by Tracy Breaks, one of your older songs, right? But you just did like the Nightcore remix for it, right?
Yeah, I just did a. I think this is like what, the 3rd version of it. I keep
something
going
like
back
that.
to it.
But it's a great song.
Thank
you. Yeah, we're gonna play that, and then we're gonna get into My Twee Monsters. So see you after that. That was Dust Rigs by Tracy Breaks. Great song. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're gonna get into some more of the actual Tracy Breaks discography right now. But first, I want to talk about the Princess Girlfriend moment thing. So did you expect it to be as big as it was? Like you initially published it to Reddit, right?
Yeah, the original kit I put on Reddit back in like high school.
Right.
Yeah.
And then did you expect that to become like such a big thing? Because I think you said like Jane and Kamo ended up using it and like a bunch of other, like everyone used it at some point, right? So like
there was like it was one of those things where like I mean like it was literally like back when I was in high school, I would just go on r/drum kits like all the time,
right?
Just because like a bunch of free kits there, and that's where all the good sounds were. Like, because like before that, when I first started like making music, the only sample pack companies or places to get sample packs that I really knew about were like the companies, and all of their sounds were pretty ass, at least for like the purposes that I wanted to pursue. You know, I couldn't make like crazy, weird, like left field SoundCloud stuff with cymatic samples. That wasn't going to cut it. So I remember there are still some kits to this day that I got from r/drum kits in high school that I use. But yeah, no, it literally was just like a big. I don't really know what inspired me to like put it on Reddit specifically, but I was really obsessed with making my own sounds because I was really fascinated by just like the music that I was listening to on SoundCloud. And like I remember I made like very specifically I made my most, I think I want to say infamous, popular snares, whatever. I made that because of a medicine snare. I was trying to like figure out how to do it, and I was just doing it all in Serum. I remember sitting in like a Panera Bread on my laptop, just like listening to the snare sound over and over again and trying to remake it in Serum, and then like being like, what if I made it sound kind of like a chop snare, and added like turned down like the flanger all the way and like added a thing on it, and then I really liked it. That was like my favorite snare from the pack that I made. But all of the drums were more or less like that. Like I would be working on music, and also wanting to like, I was just really obsessed with making like all of the drums myself and like figuring out how they worked and stuff. And I just ended up putting them all in a pack and putting it on Reddit, not really thinking much of it. And then, because I also like, you know, people weren't making a lot of like, I think I called it like Flume Sophie inspired kit or something, and like I wasn't seeing a lot of that on Reddit at the time, and I was like, well, that's a shame. Like these are good songs, and I want people to like. I know that these are hard sounds to make because I can barely make them, so I might as well like make a kit of them and just see what happens. Give them to people, and then like, you know, a couple years later, I remember getting a DM out of nowhere from this person, JHL, who, big shout out. I haven't talked to JHL in a really long time, but they're very sweet and they make some really, really killer music. But I think they were literally just like, you know, like a teenager when they texted me, and they emailed me. And they were like, I found my email somehow, I guess, but they had been using my kit for forever, and they found out about Tracy Breaks through that.
Really?
Yeah, which I didn't even know that pipeline existed because I posted Princess Girlfriend as Princess Girlfriend, you know, for the brief amount of time that I was whoever that is. And yeah, no, that kind of blew my mind. And then like as the months went on, like I kind of found out about more and more sound sources. The biggest one for me first was Bald by JPEG Mafia. Yeah.
Which sound does it use? Do you remember?
The same one that I was describing. It's called like Trap Smack. That snare ended up being the Bald snare, and then also the Home Switcher snare. And for the Daria core heads, the Willow snare from like way back in the day when Daria core was like first kind of becoming a thing on SoundCloud.
Right.
So I guess not way back, but in
way back in the terms of Daria Core.
In the minds of like really ADHD teenagers on the internet, where 4 years ago is like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
But I've been there, so I get it. But yeah, no, that one was the big one that I heard a lot of different places, and then there were just like random other ones. Like I remember being annoying and asking Kamo about one on a Goop House stream, and that's how I found out about that. And then like to this day, like I guess the rest is history there, because now the Princess 2 pack has definitely eclipsed the first one, which I'm glad for because that pack is far and away a lot better.
And you have Princess 3 too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And most recently the Serum pack.
Yeah.
So
It's its own series at this point, which is pretty cool.
It is really cool. It's actually a lot of fun. Yeah, sorry. I won't turn that into a whole answer. Sorry.
No, you're good. So I wanted to talk about more Serum stuff. I think the way that you've used Serum, like watching your stream breakdowns for My Twee Monsters specifically, is like super unique. Like I don't know, it's like it's a very interesting way that you like. Basically, what I'm asking is how long did it take you to master Serum, I guess, or like get used to it and like learn how it works, kind of.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a good question. Also because I hope to spin this answer into my own philosophy about learning this kind of thing, because it's not. It is kind of an untapped frontier still for so many people, but yeah, I think I've been using Serum for like this. Come the end of this year, it'll be like 10 years since I initially got Serum 1 back in like the end of 2016. And it was one of those things where like, excuse me,
You're
sorry. But it was one of those things where, it again kind of comes from a place of like I was just really into, especially like Flume and stuff like that back in the day. And I remember like kind of scouring the internet as soon as like Skin came out. That became my whole world for like a year or two. And then like I remember scouring the internet for like anything about him and like how he was doing what he was doing, because it was just so like organic sounding as opposed to like a lot of the other electronic music that I'd heard up until that point. Still felt very like it was still really cool and still really inspiring, but there was still something so like aggressively like separate from the modern world or like the natural world about it, whereas like this felt like it kind of blurred the lines and everything kind of felt like it had like its own voice and expression, and I really wanted to like understand what made that tick. And I remember watching an interview of him doing like a masterclass sort of thing, and like he only gave like one or two pieces of advice in the entire like clip that I saw, but the biggest one that always stuck with me was that like he said when you're starting making music that you should just like literally just pick one synthesizer. It doesn't matter what the fuck it is, you can just like how it looks or something, but commit to it, commit to understanding that entirely. Learn how to do everything with just that one synthesizer, because that's how you get better. That's just how you learn, is like, and that's the best way for you to understand conceptually how different things work. And that's exactly what I did. Whether it was like me trying to make shitty dubstep noises, I would do it in Serum. If I wanted to make drums, I would do it in Serum. If I wanted to make like atmospheres, I would do it in Serum. If I wanted to do like physical modeling stuff, I would do it in Serum. Everything for years and years and years was just that. And I feel like, especially when I got more into like when I first discovered Sophie, that was when I think things really took off there for me, where my approach for for a couple of years was sort of like, I need to figure out how to make every and any Sophie sound I can in Serum, and just do it there and to the best of my ability. No matter how fruitless of an endeavor that may sound.
Yeah, did that end up working? Or
I I think in some ways yes, in some ways no.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly yes. I will say that like I'm not Sophie, but I think my overarching intended goal, I realized very like after a very long stint of this, realized that my goal was actually or shouldn't be to just sound like her or be able to do what she does, but to learn from her in order to do what I do better. Which is ultimately I think what I took from it. And I think that ultimately I lost my train of thought, unfortunately.
That's okay.
But I guess in the sense of her sound design was just so out there, but I knew
Right.
it was all synthetic. It had to be, and you know, I was just experimenting with so many different ways to make things tick and make things do things that I did kind of have to figure out how to break Serum in order to get it to do things, or at least think about synthesis entirely separately from how I had up until that point. And I think that definitely had an intrinsic effect on the way that I look at making things forever, really, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so My Twee Monsters started out originally. So actually, for some context, if you haven't listened to it, My Twee Monsters is Tracy Brake's most recent album, and it came out like late 2024,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
like about a year and a half later, right now,
Yeah.
is where we're at. But it originally started out as an EP, right?
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was kind of like an EP and then an album and then an EP and then an album and then like a bunch of old songs were supposed to go on it, and then I scrapped that idea entirely and just built it from the ground up. Yeah, it was a lengthy process.
That was pretty much what I was gonna ask, like the transition state between EP and album. But yeah,
there is kind of a funny story there where
Mhm.
like, because like I Twee Monsters, really the actual project itself took about a year. It didn't
Mhm.
take very long to get the whole thing together. But the sort of build up to my ability and drive to do what I did with that was a lot longer than that. I'd been wanting to make an album of any kind. That was, excuse me again.
You're good.
That was the very first one that I'd ever done. And I'd been wanting to make an album since I was in like high school, where it was just kind of like I would have ideas and like things would get thrown around. But basically, I remember this was around the time that I met Violet Pony for the very first time, where like she and I started talking. But a couple of months into knowing her, I think I had like a draft of what I wanted a project to look like. And I was really hard set on pursuing this endeavor at the time because I'd heard Carousel by Violet Pony, which
Right.
was just like that was the first time in a really, really long time that I'd listened to a record and really felt so just like totally encapsulated by it and totally just like unable to think about anything else, unable to like just like stop. I was unable to stop myself from just like re-immersing myself in that world over and over again just to live in it. Felt so electrifying. And I had this album draft on like my SoundCloud. I think I like privated it or something, and I put like a couple new demo ideas that I'd been fucking with on it, and I put like some old songs of mine like Purity Crash and like Wand of Tens and like Tree Home.
Oh yeah.
Stuff that was already out, I put onto it as well, and I sent the idea for it over to Violet, and she was basically like, "This is really cool, but a lot of these songs are already out." And she didn't mean anything by it.
Yeah.
Also, like she literally was just an observation that she made that made me go, "You're right. These are all out already. Like this wouldn't be exciting at all. Like
Right.
this is the first Tracy Breaks album. It needs to be the first Tracy Breaks album. Like I really need to hunker down and make it something special." And then, I had to set that to the side for like a month or two while I was working on Princess Girlfriend 3. That was a really funny process in and of itself. There was like a point in time where I was just like holed up in I lived alone at the time, and I was just like holed up in my apartment in Van Nuys, and I was living off of like milk, beer, and McDonald's breakfast for like a period of like 2 months. And I would wake up at like, this was atrocious. I don't recommend this to anybody, but I would wake up at like probably like 11 p.m. at night, and then just like work and put on Supernatural in the background, and just work on this sample pack and just wait for McDonald's breakfast to open, because that was the thing that opened the earliest. And yeah, I would work, and then I would stop and chill for a second and like watch like Folding Ideas, and go to 7-Eleven and get like a carton of milk and like a 6-pack of Blue Moon. It was a bad time, but it was a great time. But
What was your McDonald's breakfast order?
Oh, fuck. Nothing crazy, but I think it was still kind of gross. It was, well, not gross. It was pretty good. I'm whatever. But I think it was just like a sausage McGriddle and like 2 hash browns and like a coffee, like the like iced like macchiato or like caramel like coffee or whatever. Yeah, it was a good time. Good time. Yeah, and then I guess the album, during that time, the album kind of came together in the background.
Right.
Like my inspiration to pursue it did. But that I feel like is, I've gotten so off track that feels like a whole other can of worms at this point.
That's okay. We're going to take a quick break again, and we're going to play Back to Sleep by Tracy Breaks, and then we'll get back to the interview. And again, that was Back to Sleep by Tracy Breaks. This is again Hyperpop Hour with DJ Styrofoam, and we're joined with Tracy Breaks.
Hi.
Yes. So I wanted to talk about a little bit about like the track listing for the album, which is kind of what we were talking about like while the song was playing. But I think a lot of like the louder tracks are kind of around the start, and then like the more stripped back tracks are near the end. Was that like a conscious decision on your part, or was that just like kind of how it ended up?
It feels like it was definitely at least partly conscious. I feel like if I was to boil down like the main few references, at least like inspirational references for the record, like Kate Bush would certainly be up there.
Which album?
Hounds of Love.
Okay,
specifically.
banger.
I love that record so much.
You like the Dreaming? Sorry, not to just talk about
I
Kate
love
Bush,
The
but I
Dreaming.
love Kate Bush.
I have the Dreaming and I have Hounds of Love on vinyl.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
They're bangers.
Yeah.
They're bangers. Real recognize real.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like something that I've always really loved about that record is how there's the first like I forget what the first half of the record is. Oh yeah, it's like there's Hounds of Love,
And then there's the
and then there's
seventh,
the
is it
the
the seventh wave or something?
Yeah, I was gonna say like
or the ninth wave. It's the ninth wave. You're
the
right.
ninth
You're
wave.
right.
We got there.
Yeah.
We got this. But yeah, how it's like split up into like two different parts. There's like the side, the A side, which feels a little bit more like singly, a little bit more
Right,
like
yeah.
regular pop record, what you would expect. Like these are kind of like how a TV show would be sort of like unseparate from like an overarching narrative. What's the word for that? I think like serialized.
Yeah.
But then there's like the second half where everything kind of really takes a whole different shape. And like everything comes together into this really big, like, sort of like narrative that is sewn together through the lenses of all of these different people living out their very, very different lives. That was a huge and remains a huge inspiration on me and her songwriting especially, and just her ability to sort of like step into somebody else's like shoes for a song and just like no holds barred really embody that. In a really honest and very like in a way that where it's like if this were a real person, like you get the sense that she's really trying to pay as much respect to this person's identity as possible. But yeah, I think in a lot of ways the record sort of panned out that way because of that, and also because of the oil of every pearls and insides as well, where like, I mean, honestly, if there's a direct comparison track-wise, I feel like that, especially for the first half, would make the most sense, because there's like the slow song, and then there's like the sort of pony boy face shopping dynamic, and then there's all the dreamy, spacey kind of like more out there stuff.
No, I definitely do see that comparison too. Yeah,
for sure.
That makes sense. It's really cool to hear you say Kate Bush as a reference.
Oh
though.
my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Forever, dude. I love her so much.
So, and then also, so you have, wait, oh shoot, I forgot the name, but you have the two instrumental songs. It's A Fish Named Justice and then Fireside
Thaumaturgy.
Yes, I did not know how to pronounce that.
That's fine.
But they're like right next to each other on the album, right?
Yeah.
So what was like what's the narrative, I guess, with that? Because like the rest of the album, I feel like has a pretty strong like visual image, whereas those two songs I'm a little bit kind of lost on in a way. Like what's the significance, I guess?
That is a good question. I feel like I had a more solid answer, and then like closer to when I was putting it all together. Yeah. I think honestly, I mean, I could say straight up for A Fish Named Justice, I put it on there because it was funny. It's a song that not a lot of people like. It is the least popular song on the record and has been since the day the album came out. Which is like I don't bemoan that at all. I put it on there because I was really, I mean that song is about things. Like it's a lot of that record is very personal and talking very
Right.
heavily of like my own psyche and like my own um, struggles with my own identity and like aspects of my character, and both on the inside and the outside kind of thing. But then that song, like there were a couple moments where like, and there are also nods to this sort of like outward perspective on other songs. But I think that Fish Named Justice and to an extent also Fireside both kind of are the two songs that really go into it the most, I think, to me.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're songs without any words, so what you feel about it is what it means to you. But, when I was making A Fish Named Justice, the whole point was sort of finding the profundity in sort of like these really silly things, these sort of nonsensical, whimsical sort of like phrases or actions or things that we see. I remember at the time that I got the idea for the song, I was watching the Folding Ideas video about his review on like the Book of Life.
Right.
Yeah. And there was something so at the time like so striking to me about him speaking about this movie called The Book of Life. But I'd never heard of it before. I knew he was talking about a movie, but I was like, what if he was just talking about like the Bible or some shit? Like, what if the thing that he was reviewing was something that was so like gargantuan in scope and in scale? What if this was literally like the divine text of the gods, and he was like, yeah, it's not even that good, Like, what if it was like actually something like way bigger? And then like A Fish Named Justice also kind of came from that same video where I think there's literally like a tuna fish named Justice in the movie. I just liked how it sounded. I just really liked A Fish Named Justice. And like there are bits of dialogue sampled throughout the song, and those are all from the same video. So there's that, and then Fireside. I think there was a draft of that song with lyrics where I never recorded them, but there was an initial idea to make it about like an unrequited love between like space lesbians. It was gonna be really gay. It was gonna be so like almost painfully gay. It was gonna be like so stupid. Some tragic dramatic lesbian throwing herself into the sun on a suicide mission to like save the world or something, but she only finds the courage or she only wants to do it because she was like experiencing unrequited feelings for this woman who rejects her. Yeah, it didn't go very far.
That's awesome.
It was the worst,
Yeah.
but I was like, this is too hokey.
That's fair. A lot of the lyrics on the album have like a lot of like pretty visceral like body horror imagery, right? Are there any like movies or directors that do like body horror or horror in general that you like take inspiration from?
That is also a good question, because I honestly I'm actually, I think body horror is like one of the few genres of horror that I really can't do.
Really?
Yeah, which is funny because I feel like all of my trans friends love that shit. But and for years now I've been like, one of these days I'm just gonna sit down and watch a couple Cronenbergs.
Yeah, you should watch Videodrome.
I really want to.
That one's really good.
I know, and I really want to, because I've seen like clips of it, and I'm always like, this is the kind of movie that would totally be my shit.
Yeah.
But first I have to find a place to watch it, and then I need to
It's
find
on
the
Criterion
headspace.
right now if you have that. But,
I've been meaning to get on that because Northern Lion keeps talking about it, and I watch a lot of him. But yeah, like I do have a couple body horror references that I do really like, but they're not necessarily movies. It's more, I was really big into, another inspiration for the album was Kitty Horror Show, the game developer. Because another like huge thing for me was like Anatomy, of course, but then she also has another game called Lethargy Hill, which is just like I think I literally found out about it. I think the same way that a lot of people found out about Kitty Horror Show from like a Jacob Geller video. But
Oh, yeah.
I've been watching him for fucking forever.
The GOAT.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, he made a video around the same time that he made one of his most popular videos, and definitely was one of my favorites way back when I was working on, or not way back, but you know, when I was working on Twee Monsters.
Yeah.
But he made another video called 4 Short Games About Pain, which is where I found out about Lethargy Hill, and it's this kind of like just sprawling narrative that's presented to you through the format of a game. All you do is walk around and read text. That's the whole game. But there was something so like viscerally evocative about how understated it was, about how there's just this narrative of this woman living in a house and building herself a family out of like a son made out of her own blood, and like a daughter made out of like the husks of bugs and stuff like that. And like I feel like I can do a lot of the visceral elements when I get to be sort of in the driver's seat there.
Yeah.
I really like to feel the viscerality much more than I do to like watch it unfold or like happen to an unwilling participant, which is like really where the body horror stuff skeeves me the most.
That's fair. That makes sense, I guess, with why it's not distasteful.
Yeah.
But I was going to play this song, but I don't think we have time for it anymore. So I'm just going to say, if you want to hear like a good example of the body horror in this album, my favorite example is Vice Heart. I think that song has really like strong imagery.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Kind of more on games. There's a sample of Borderlands like all over this album. Is that like what's the reasoning for that?
Honestly, not a hugely good reason, other than like I just, you know, there's just so many people with such cool tags out there, and I was like, I want a cool tag of my own. And then I like kind of racked my brain about it for a second, because I was like, I don't want it to just come from anywhere. Like I want it to be meaningful to me. And then, you know, I mean, I've played the shit out of all Borderlands games. I literally just last night beat fucking Borderlands 1 on a new playthrough. So like I've been playing Borderlands for literally since I was like 12. And Borderlands 2 obviously was, or not obviously, but like that was the one that I played the most, and Gage was...
That's the one that the sample's from, right?
Yeah. Okay. Gage is the character who says it, and that's the character that I definitely have the most playtime with. I feel like I don't know, I've always kind of like felt an affinity for her since I was a kid. Like I've always kind of been like the good with the bad. She is kind of like a general shape of silhouette of like who I am as a person in some ways.
Yeah.
There's something there. Like not entirely obviously, because she sliced her arm off to replace it with a robot arm so that she could control a big robotic killing machine.
And that's kind of cool.
That's pretty sick, but I've done nothing of the sort. The closest I've got is figuring out how Ableton Live works. But you know, I've always really liked her as a character, and her character design is really neat. And also that quote is from Borderlands is a reference to a movie from the 80s, which I did not know about until my mom called me like a month after my album came out and was like, "Did you do this on purpose? Are you referencing this movie?" And I was
Do
like,
you know which movie it is?
It's called Short Circuit. It's a movie from the 80s. And it's all right. It feels very painfully like an 80s movie, but in some of the bad ways, but there is some really decent, actually not even decent, some really nice practical effects with puppets for the robots, where they do like entire like Three Stooges bits with the robot. It's great. Those parts are great. And there's just a bit from the movie where he says like "number 5 alive," and that's what Gage is quoting.
Yeah. Okay. A few more questions. Orphan Source, obviously. That's my favorite song that you've done.
Appreciate it.
I think it's very like detailed, but it doesn't sound like nerdy, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And I saw somebody in your live chat say that it's like kind of face shopping too. Is that the intention, or like what went into making that song?
Yeah. I mean, I would never belabor anybody for calling it face shop too, or face shopping too, because like I mean, the one of my like most personal goals for years has been to figure out how to make that goddamn snare.
Right.
That is like, and not just because I'm like the hyperpop snare girl. I swear to God, it's one of the best sounds of all time. Is the snare in that goddamn song? It's just so clangy in the most like naturally perfect way. Yeah, and it just sits so well in the mix. It's beautiful, and I've tried a dozen times to do it. I think I have a newer iteration of it since that song came out that I think is probably my best. But I mean that's where the project started, was like literally like the bass, the like kick bass thing and that snare, and I like made it and was like, whatever, it sounds like ass, and then I came back to it an hour later and I was like, wait, no, I think I have something here. And then, I don't know, I just kind of kept building on it, and iterating. That song took like 8 fucking months to put together because I wanted to make a face shopping song that didn't just feel like entirely like I was trying to make face shopping again. Yeah. So I think I kind of hit the mark. I mean, people can call it that though. I don't give a shit.
I mean, yeah.
I get it. I get where the comparison comes from, definitely.
We're going to real quick play Orphan Source, and then we'll be back. So this is Orphan Source by Tracey Breaks. That was Orphan Source by Tracy Breaks. So it doesn't seem like the people that are after me are here, but I'm gonna give them a little shout out anyway, just because. Next up would be Morning Sign In with DJ Laura. Next week, I'm sure they'll be here and it'll be good. But since we have a little bit of extra time, I'm just gonna go through some of the questions that I didn't get the chance to ask yet. So, okay. I want to ask about the idea of like square one. It's so for the people that don't know, it's like the little symbols on the cover of the album, and it's almost like a mantra of sorts. Like, so I want to ask, you made that like 2 years ago, right? Like, does that still sort of guide you in a sense? Like, do you still think back to that?
Yeah,
Now.
that is a really this is definitely one of those things where like if I'm not careful,
Okay.
I'll make it. Sorry, people have showed up here. I'll give a
Yes.
brief answer and say, in its own way, yeah, I guess it still does, and I hope that it continues to do that for me, and I hope it helps other people too. But that's why we make art, baby.
Well, this was Hyperpop Hour with DJ Styrofoam, and this was Tracy Breaks.
Hello and goodbye.
And up next is Morning Sign In with DJ Laura.
Drugs that sink veins into the rest. Time is what's still got that.